India today, I'm Nabila Jamal. We're tracking the missing submarine that's on board 5 people who are right now right in the ocean along the areas of the Titanic wreckage, but unfortunately the search and rescue teams haven't been able to find them. They're still missing. Sounds are emanating from that area, from that particular point, the distress point as they call it, but unfortunately all their rescue mission so far has failed. Search teams are racing against time even as we speak to find this submersible, this submarine itself, a tourist submarine that went missing during a dive towards the North Atlantic right near the Titanic's wreckage. Rescuers say that they've heard a lot of noise, banging sounds that's coming in right near that distress point from that vessel, but unfortunately they haven't been able to detect where exactly this vessel is. People on board, including British billionaires, you have an explorer who's also a billionaire himself, a French explorer who's already toured that Titanic wreckage site before, is currently on that submarine. And from what we know, at least 30 hours of oxygen that's left, barely 30 hours. So the rescue operation will have to race against time to get to those people who are stranded on board that very tourist submarine. I'm going to cut across to Abhishek Valla as well, joining us, who's been tracking very closely the rescue operations currently underway. Abhishek, as we see here, this submarine seems has barely 30 hours of oxygen left. 2, they seem to be trying to reach out to rescue officials by making sounds and banging through the sounds that are coming in, emanating through the vessel. Somehow rescue teams are able to hear it or catch some vibrations, but they're not able to detect where exactly it's stranded. Could you tell us really the complexities that rescue teams right now might be undergoing, and also extreme weather conditions? We believe the sea, the ocean right now, not the Atlantic area, is quite harsh.
Well, Nabila, first of all, 12,800 feet below sea level. So that in itself tells you how difficult the rescue operations could be. So this is well over 3,000 meters. So that's really some depth that the rescuers have to deal with. And yes, it's right that there are some sounds coming from that particular location,
right,
where the submersible is suspected to have sunk. And that's giving some glimmer of hope to the authorities. A lot of naval maritime technologies are being used to sort of detect the exact location. The surveillance aircraft are being used as well. Coast Guard is trying to detect where exactly this is lying. But yeah, the situation really volatile as far as these 5 people who are on board the submersible. I mean, technically we should call it a submersible vessel, because I've been reading that the term submersible and submarine is being used interchangeably, but there's a slight little difference. A submarine is a vessel that can be launched on its own, whereas a submersible boat such as this, which is being used for tourist purposes to go down underwater, needs a mothership to be launched from.
And that's the mothership. We see the mothership there, the visual that we see on our screens right now. That's the mothership, and it's the submersible. That's what you call this very vessel.
It's a sort of a vessel boat that is launched from this particular mothership, and then it goes down. Of course, part of big ticket tourism expeditions, if you can call them so, trying to locate the Titanic wreckage. And obviously this is
more than that, the curiosity into what the Titanic wreckage really looks like. The movie itself has instilled this kind of curiosity. I'm sure you and I would be so curious to go down there to see what exactly the Titanic ship looked like. And clearly this curiosity, this inquisitivity also costs quite a lot of money, $250,000, that's nearly $500,000 to actually get on that very submersible vessel to get to that Titanic wreckage site. And this is a tourist, almost a tour that that company, that Canadian company, has sort of initiated. And this is a third trip, we believe, Abhishek, since 2001 that this company was launched. This is their third trip towards the Titanic wreckage site. I'm going to, in fact, take our viewers here through a little bit on the rescue and research, the operations that's currently underway. At this point, search teams are going right down towards the Titanic wreckage site, that the area where that very vessel might just have gone missing. They're trying to locate it, but failed attempts. So far, sounds are coming, banging noises from that vessel, but they're not able to really detect exactly where that noise is coming from. So rescue teams are in right near the wreckage site. They're right on top of that, on that rescue operation, as they try very hard to search, but attempts have failed. What we know now is that barely 30 hours of oxygen left for them. So that's not even a single day left for the rescue mission to complete, and hopefully successfully. Let's cut across to this very report coming in from Reuters. If I could take you through exactly what they've observed.
Before we went, we had never seen the sub. We didn't know anything about it. There's very little information on the website. I didn't know at that point that you drive the thing with an Xbox game controller. I didn't know that the ballast was, used construction pipes. And then you get the tour, and Stockton Rush, the designer of the sub, the CEO, explains to you that all of this stuff, the lights and the handles and the propellers, these are off-the-shelf parts. Because, well, not only are they inexpensive, but they're tried and true. They're mass-produced. The part we care about is the pressure vessel, the capsule where the people are. And that he designed with NASA and the University of Washington. And that, he says, is as locked down as it gets. His exact words were, everything else can fail. The lights can go out, the propellers can stop, but you will still be alive. Once I was in the sub with Stockton and, the scientists and the crew is outside doing what they had rehearsed over and over, I felt okay. I felt excited. I felt like they wouldn't do this if it was really dangerous.
You steer the ship with a controller, with a joystick from a gaming system, a home gaming system. And that's not a bad thing. That's a great thing, that how very simple this submarine is and how easy it is to navigate. It was simplicity all the way through it, simplicity and an elegance to it.
Yeah, you are bolted in from the outside. There are 18 bolts in a circle around the hatch. And by the way, they only fasten 17 of them. The 18th one is way up high, and they say there's really no mathematical difference. So you're right. The really nightmarish scenario is that they are alive at the surface, bobbing away, running out of air, and unable to get out.
There's special training just to learn how to get into an escape suit, in and out of that. It's a very tough thing to get into these kind of warm weather coveralls that will float you if you have to bail from a ship or escape from a submarine. Beyond that, no real training. When we went down, it was just, there were communication problems on every trip I've taken. Of the 4 separate dives I'd taken with OceanGate, every time there was a problem with at least, sporadically communicating with the surface. And again, I don't think that's their fault as much as just that's the nature of the beast. When you're going 1,000 feet or 13,000 feet underwater, you're going to lose contact for a while.
It's tragic, and I deeply feel for the families and the kids of these men. But I have to say, it comes with the life of a risk taker.
We saw some elements of the difficulties that rescue operation might just be facing, a clear roadblock in many levels also because of the harsh weather conditions. We believe that the sea is quite harsh at this point, but very basic little information that we have. Our images on our television screens here show you very clearly that Titanic wreckage site, which has led to almost becoming a tourist spot. And this very submarine, this submersible, Abhishek Bhalla tells me that this isn't a submarine, it's a mini sub, a submersible. That submersible has launched its tourist operation, this activity that takes passengers all the way to the Titanic wreckage site in 2021. So it's been barely 3 years since they've begun. So how far is it safe? What kind of checks and balances do people in authority give them in terms of clearances? That's something that's still questionable, because we believe there was some talk about this submarine, this mini sub being faulty in the first place, and this was said by an employee itself of that very company, the OceanGate company, in 2017, and that employee was fired. I'm going to get to that part here, but I'm going to cut across to Abhishek for more on that. Abhishek, at this point, the rescue operations, as much as we're really hoping and praying for those 5 people who are on board, is successful. Barely 30 hours of oxygen here. It's fast dwindling. What are the real challenges and the roadblock that the operation might face at the moment?
Well, Nabila, any kind of deep underwater rescue operations obviously comes with huge challenges. First of all, exact detection of the vessel is something that needs to be ascertained, and I'm afraid it's not been done at this point of time. The other, of course, is the weather and the kind of situation that the ocean is going through. So all those things, come in the way of either you use divers or you use other vessels or surveillance aircraft, especially if the weather is bad. That becomes a problem. And another very important aspect would be perhaps the kind of condition that this vessel is in. I mean, are the heaters working? Is the temperature under control? Because if it's not, then just the extreme weather circumstances, dipping temperatures could be a reason enough to kill people who are trapped in there. But as we hear that there's some kind of sounds, banging sounds that are being heard.
There's some hope left.
There's some hope left, but it's not going to be easy because, as you mentioned, that only 30 hours of oxygen is left. So that's another big challenge. Thursday morning is what I've heard, that they can sustain with the oxygen until Thursday morning. So it's much less than 30 hours also now as we speak.
Even as we speak, rescue operations are underway. So they're really racing against time to get to that very OceanGate vessel, what you see there. But these images are images that we have on file. They are not live images. At least here we can see what the vessel looks like. But believe me, at this point, that vessel is so deep under, and it's pitch dark there. Abhishek, at this point, we know that as the vessel goes deeper, as it descends deeper into the ocean, it's pitch dark. You can barely see even your hand in front of you, and it's just mud, unadulterated ocean. So it's very likely that it could be entangled or stuck at a certain place, and to really locate it, what kind of props do the rescue mission or officials there are likely using? Could a torch work? What kind of lighting would they use as help to help them navigate through the oceans?
I mean, it's 12,800 meters below sea.
What kind of those props really work under?
What I've been gathering and reading is that the Coast Guard is at work. Canadian authorities are at work. Surveillance aircraft have been pressed into action. So the sense that I get is that the first challenge is to detect this vessel. Unless you have detected it, it would be impossible to actually get to it. So various means are being used to get the detection right, and only once the detection happens would you be able to actually go underwater.
How do you detect something like this? I mean, first of all, we know that there was, what's all the more shocking, I don't know if this is, at least to me, I perceive it as very surprising that this vessel is manned and maneuvered using a gaming, stick. A gaming stick is what we are told. So I don't know how far.
That's quite bizarre. Yeah, because as somebody who's as an observer of military platforms, this is obviously not a military platform. But anything that goes underwater, as somebody who covers defense, a gaming platform is certainly not what you would want any vessel that's going underwater to a place like this. I don't know. I'm not an expert on these kind of vessels, but yeah, it does sound bizarre. Why would you want to be so casual about something like this? And the kind of money that is being used, and the people, of course, who are on board are all billionaires. And that's what we're reading. One is a Pakistani billionaire, the other is a British billionaire, somebody who was involved in that collaboration of getting cheetahs from Africa to India. So just the profile of the people who are on board gives you a sense of how expensive this hobby is.
You know, I'm going to cut to the gaming stick. In fact, that's what's viral now on the internet at this point. We believe one of them has put out pictures. We're going to get those images for our viewers here. But photos and videos there showing how this is piloted. This very vessel is piloted using a video game controller. Taking you through that in just a bit. But what's very important here, like Abhishek said, you can't be so casual when it comes to an expedition of this nature, where you're going down 3,800 meters sea deep, ocean deep. That's the range, and at a place where the Titanic wreckage is. One can only imagine the kind of complexities. That entire area there is so deep under, with barely any visibility, that kind of weather condition, the sea conditions so harsh. At the moment, it is scary. We're only, as we pray and hope that this is fixed and those people are found as soon as possible. What's shocking here is that the submarine expert, a submarine expert who worked for the OceanGate company that operates this missing submersible, had earlier warned warned of some kind of a potential safety threat. And this happened in 2018 itself. He had alerted in 2018 that something like this is very likely. David Lottringe, in fact, has revealed that manufacturers of this Titan, this company, OceanGate company that has manufactured this very Titan vessel, claiming that this forward viewpoint of the Titan vessel is only certified to a depth of 1,300 meters. But the Titanic wreckage lies at least 3,800 meters deep below the ocean surface. So David has already flagged off a possible glitch in 2017 while speaking at an interview with BBC. We believe he said that there could be potential threat because the vessel is only cleared for at least 1,300 meters in depth, but the fact that the Titanic wreckage is 3,800 feet down, not too sure how far this is safe. In fact, David moved, he was so inquisitive to work with a company like this. He moved all the way from Scotland to Washington to work with this firm, and while the world was interested and inquisitive about this very tourist mission, David, we believe, spoke to BBC in an interview where he had revealed that there is a possible threat because certain audits need to be done from a third-party company. He is not too sure if this very vessel is safe to go 3,800 feet down. And he even claimed that he had warned the bosses at that point, the OceanGate company's bosses. They were very well warned by David, one of their own employees, about the flaws in the Titan's carbon hull that may just go undetected without proper stringent testing. And also very clearly had pushed for a third-party company from the outside, another outside agency, to really certify this vessel. But apparently what we hear is, Abhishek, that all those warnings were ignored. In fact, he also wrote a report and called for a meeting. This very employee of this OceanGate company had called for a meeting with several officials, including the very man, Stockton Rush, the OceanGate chief executive, unfortunately, who's also right now in that vessel that's gone missing. He had spoken to him personally, written a letter to him saying that he wants a discussion on this, on the possible safety threats. But the response for that David really got was, instead of actually hearing him out and maybe working on the flaws there, the company fired him. More importantly, they sued him. They sued him for trying to reveal some kind of confidential information, and in fact, David also responded with another counter case that he filed on them. Finally, this lawsuit was settled. But just imagine, this very employee of that company had raised this issue back in 2017, 2018. He said that there could be some glitches in terms of finding contact if this vessel goes deeper. 1,200 meters at max this vessel is likely to be safe at. But going any deeper than that, one should get a third party, the company should get a third party agency to try and assess it, to see the safety standards. But he was fired. A defamation suit was filed against him saying that he's revealing some inside office information to the world. This was a response, and the irony, as irony has it, and very sorry to say, it's tragic that that very chief executive
himself is
in that vessel right now.
I mean, really shocking details. If alarm bells were raised, if security threats were flagged, why was it ignored? And as you said, that the top executive himself is on board. That's the stark irony of this. And perhaps somewhere those checks and balances were ignored. If there were concerns raised about safety and security measures, then one sees no reason why they shouldn't have been taken seriously. And again, what I'm gathering is that the Titan submersible, it's named Titan, it lost control and with the mothership within about 45 minutes of it, going down to the site where the Titanic wreckage is. So various theories are doing the rounds of what perhaps could have caused. One of them is that there could be some kind of rupture in the outer shell of this vessel. The other theories again are related to the weather, but obviously all this will only be clear once this vessel is actually retrieved and scrutinized and assessed on what could have gone wrong. But the fact remains here that there were concerns raised and it seems they were ignored, and which has now ended up in an extremely tragic accident with the crew and people on board who it seems are going to find it extremely difficult to make it. Unfortunately, I mean, that's the sense that one gets after reading whatever has come out in the public domain. The pressure of water, Nabila, at this point, in these depths, is 350 times more than what it is on Earth. So again, to your earlier question of how difficult and what are the challenges for the rescue operations that's going on. So you can well imagine that the pressure at which the water is coming is 350 times more than what you would experience on above water on Earth. And these are gallons of water. We are not just talking about some few quantities, but that's an entire ocean, and with that kind of pressure. So not just the rescue operations, also the survival of those who are
is
trapped
very
in that
important.
Is something which is very
it's
bleak.
so tragic. It's really sad. There are 5 people who are currently on board that vessel, and even as they struggle so hard to reach out, but more importantly, there's absolutely no connectivity, right, Abhishek, at this point? Any phone that could
No
connect
connectivity
underwater?
with the crew of
course.
people,
Yeah,
who are
it's
underwater.
impossible to connect in any sense.
Yeah.
Once you lose contact with a vessel,
it becomes all the more difficult, and that's again one thing. Communication, the kind of communications that you have on board, whether they are good enough or not. But frankly, I mean, if it's gone down almost 13,000 feet, I don't think any communication system will be able to.
And if I may ask you, what is the only possible way to detect it?
I think reaching there physically. That would be the only, and I think that's what is being attempted.
25,000 square feet. That's the area that the U.S. Coast Guard is in fact right now trying to cover. 25,000 square feet. That's a huge ocean area, and that's the friend of that's one of them. Hamis is one of them who's currently missing from that missing in that vessel, and his friend there, who's in fact spoken. If I could try and get her reaction, but at the moment, this is the image there of Hamis, the guy, the man that you see there, who's right now missing. You know, it's very important to note that he knows very well that this wreckage, Titanic wreckage area, he has already been. He's an explorer himself. He's moved around that wreckage area in the past, Abhishek. So despite knowing that area very well, Hamis, that man that we see on our screens here, he's gone missing. So knowing that area prior, does that help in sort of finding yourself to safety? And if you're in that vessel and our oxygen supply is within that vessel, is there any way for them to move the vessel manually, or if it's stuck, it's stuck? They're helpless
I don't think
inside.
that's happened. I don't think the vessel has moved anywhere.
So it's stuck. It's stuck somewhere.
It's stuck somewhere, and because if it was moving, there would be some telltale signs. Those who were trying to track it would get a sense that, you know, at least there's some movement. But I don't think the movement has happened. It's stuck somewhere, and just getting there right now it just seems like
that's what's important. Do we have the Deputy Pentagon Press Secretary speaking? If we could listen in.
Right now, we are providing air support. I believe the Coast Guard and the Navy have been in touch in terms of what they can provide in terms of assets that can further look for the submersible that has gone missing. I don't have anything more to announce right now. I know that's something that both the Navy and Coast Guard are trying to figure out on what makes the most sense. But the Coast Guard is really the lead for this mission. So we are in direct support for them, and we will continue to be for as long as they request assistance.
All right. You know, you have that Deputy Pentagon Press Secretary who says that they're really working hard towards finding that lost vessel, and it's just tragic. The family members who are trying really hard to get to their family. What's the point, right? These are billionaires, people who have spent that kind of money, $25,000, we believe, for that one trip. It's $500,000 almost to actually get to that. That's the joystick I was talking about. If I could elaborate here, the internet right now is exploding on the fact that this very vessel is being sort of handled, and it was controlled by a joystick, a Logitech GF710. That's the joystick that's being used, almost like a PlayStation controller that's being used to pilot this Titan submersible, and it appears very closely to be a proper joystick that costs about $30 on Amazon. Now, this is something that needs to be corroborated officially, but this is what we see that's exploding on Twitter and other social media platforms, that this vessel was operated by a joystick like this. Is this even possible, Abhishek?
Frankly, I mean, I don't have an answer to that, because this does look like a video game kind of a controller, and it looks extremely rudimentary. Yes, you said that we're still not sure about the authenticity of this information, but if this is what was indeed used to navigate this particular vessel, then that does sound really bizarre and casual. I don't know if such a vessel that can go down thousands of meters can be operated with something like that.
You know, could there be any, while a expedition of this nature is pulled off, would you know of the extent of permissions that they will have to take, and do you think any authority would approve of something like this?
Well, I mean, let's talk about India. I mean, we know Indian laws on these things. First of all, extremely difficult to get sanctions, licenses from the authorities for some kind of an adventure tourism expedition going down 3,000 meters to have a look at some kind of wreckage. Yes, we hear of deep divers and things like that, but I don't know if these kind of vessels would be very easy to get permissions for. And I mean, it's very clear that it's an extremely rich boys club. It's not something that even affluent, well-to-do people can afford. It's the profiles of kind of people who are on board gives you a clear indication that this is an extremely expensive hobby.
Oh, it's an extremely expensive hobby. If I could take our viewers here on a final note, a quick look at this submarine, the people who are on board. If I should mention here, clearly that their family members are really worried at this point. But to take our viewers through, there's Shehzada Dawood, who's said to be a Pakistani billionaire, a British Pakistani billionaire. Shehzada Dawood's son, Suleiman Dawood, is also on board that vessel that's now gone missing. Hamish Harding, that's the image we showed you with that lady there. Hamish Harding is also a British billionaire explorer. We believe that he is very familiar with this very vessel. And Paul Henry Nargiolet, who's a former French Navy diver. And Paul was the one, in fact, who's gone very close to the Titanic wreckage site, and he knows the lay of the land around the Titanic wreckage site. But it's unfortunate that right now, because he's inside the vessel, there's not really much that he can do to try and to any way manually move that vessel. And then there is Stockton Rush, the man in question, the chief executive of that company, OceanGate Submarine, that's operating this tour to the Titanic wreckage site. So these are the people on board, and the latest update that we have right now is that the submarine, there are sounds coming in from the submarine almost every 30 minutes. We believe that there are sounds and noises of bangs where people are trying to, we believe, bang on the vessel door, and that vibration is being detected, but they're not able to really get to that spot. More importantly, only 30 hours of oxygen that's left. And we believe that the submarine lost contact with its mothership around 1 hour 40 minutes into when it started descending into the ocean. So the wreckage site, the Titanic wreckage site, is nearly 3,800 meters down under. And just about an hour and a half into their descent, they lost contact. And for now, what we know is nearly 25,000 square kilometers of area. The Coast Guard is right now trying to search, and the rescue operation has panned out to this extent. So it is highly unfortunate, as rescue operations now have met with multiple hurdles. And that includes, most importantly, rough weather. We believe that the region right now is really, in terms of the ocean, it's right now very volatile. Weather conditions have really acted as a roadblock in many ways, but they've still managed to search quite an area so far. And the fact that there are sounds coming and they're able to detect those sounds itself says that hope is alive. Every moment and every minute as we speak, their oxygen is only dwindling, and that's what really leaves us wondering if at all they're going to be safe in the next few hours. Barely 24 hours that they can survive with that oxygen. Post that, one can only imagine. Abhishek, a final word from you as rescue operations still continue?
Well, just praise for those trapped there and their families, and this ordeal is a tough one, and may that end soon.
All right. Thank you very much for watching. We're going to continue right on this coverage until rescue operations complete. Thank you for watching India Today.